It is happening again, my brothers and sisters. Another day has dawned for us to look into God's Word, and I'm grateful that you're here for another Living Hope Today study. Today, we find ourselves in 2 Samuel chapter 3. Saul has abdicated his kingship. How did he do that? Well, he wouldn't obey God, and his disobedience led him to his own destruction. God has anointed David to be the king through the prophet Samuel, but things are in upheaval right now in 2 Samuel chapter 3. Who's the king? Well, David's been made king of Judah, the southern kingdom, but the northern kingdom is still in chaos. And today in chapter 3, we're going to watch this political maneuvering and see how it ends up that God accomplishes his purpose through human decision. First, let's start here in verse 1. The war between the house of Saul and the house of David lasted a long time. So there's political intrigue, there's battles going on, people are dying over the power struggle and the transition that Israel is in right now. But it says here in verse 1, David grew stronger and stronger, while the house of Saul grew weaker and weaker. So God, instead of just declaring his intention and making it happen at the death of Saul, he's allowing this process to take place where there's a great struggle. Well, okay, so now the text kind of takes a break here and gives us a little bit of David's history and his lineage. The sons were born to David in Hebron. His firstborn was Amnon, the son of Ahinoam of Jezreel. So Amnon is the firstborn son. His second, Chileab, the son of Abigail, the widow of Nabal of Carmel. So now we have Chileab. Then we have Absalom, the son of Maacah, daughter of Talmai, king of Geshur. The fourth, Adonijah, the son of Haggith. The fifth, Shephatiah, the son of Abital. So David's got quite a few wives here, doesn't he? And the sixth, Ephraim, the son of David's wife, Eglah. These were born to David in Hebron. During the war between the house of Saul and the house of David, Abner. Remember Abner? He is the cousin of Saul. Abner had been strengthening his own position in the house of Saul. All right, so now we have another son listed. Now we have another character, Abner, brought back to our attention. But just to go through David's sons listed here, I just want you to see Amnon's the firstborn, Abigail has Chileab, Maacah has Absalom, Haggith has Adonijah, Abital has Shephatiah, and Eglah has Ephraim. So we got 6 baby mamas and 6 sons listed here. All right. Now Saul had a concubine named Rizpah, daughter of Aiah. And Ishbosheth said to Abner, "Why did you sleep with my father's concubine?" So Saul's dead, but he had a concubine. Her name was Rizpah. And Abner apparently slept with this concubine. Well, Ishbosheth, the leader of the north at the time, he's upset. Why'd you do that? Abner was very angry because of what Ishbosheth said. And he answered, "Am I a dog's head on Judah's side? This very day I am loyal to the house of your father Saul and to his family and friends. I haven't handed you over to David, yet now you accuse me of an offense involving this woman." So now we're not really sure, did he really sleep with her? Has he violated some sort of protocol or not? We just know that his reaction to the accusation is very strong. And in fact, listen to this. May God deal with Abner. He's talking about himself in third person, be it ever so severely, if I do not do for David what the Lord promised him on oath. Look at this, verse 9. Do you see this? Abner knows that David is intended by God to be the king. He's up there in the north supporting Ishbosheth in the house of Saul, but he knows the Lord has promised David the kingship of Israel. All right? If I do not do for David what the Lord promised him on oath and transfer the kingdom from the house of Saul and establish David's throne over Israel and Judah from Dan to Beersheba. When you see from Dan to Beersheba, this is an accustomed way to say from the far north to the far south, the whole thing. All right? So now Abner is moving all the way to, hey, if you're going to make this accusation against me about sleeping with Saul's concubine, I am going to do everything I can to bring David to power so that he is now the king of the whole territory. Ishbosheth did not dare to say another word to Abner because he was afraid of him. Well, Abner must be a fairly intimidating guy, right? So Abner sent messengers on his behalf to say to David, whose land is it? Make an agreement with me, and I will help you bring all Israel over to you. So Abner is now pursuing an alliance with David. I mean, this is political intrigue, isn't it? Good, said David, I'll make an agreement with you, but I demand one thing. Wow, okay, what's David's condition? Look at this. Do not come into my presence unless you bring Michal, daughter of Saul, when you come to see me. Remember that Saul gave David's wife Michal away as an act of vengeance when Saul was so determined to kill David. Michal is Saul's daughter, right? Okay. Verse 14. Then David sent messengers to Ishbosheth, son of Saul, demanding, give me my wife, Michal, whom I betrothed to myself for the price of 100 Philistine foreskins. He wants his wife back. This would be wife number 7. So Ishbosheth gave orders and had her taken away from her husband, Paltiel, son of Laish. Her husband, however, this is Paltiel, he's broken he's smashed by this event. He loves his wife. Her husband, however, went with her, weeping behind her, all the way to Bahurim, when Abner said to him, go back home. Again, we're seeing Abner to be completely intimidating. You want to go against Abner? You can do it at the risk of your life. Abner says, go back home. And so Paltiel says, okay, I'll see you later, Michal. You're going to go be David's wife now. Abner conferred with the elders of Israel and said, for some time you have wanted to make David your king. That's an interesting statement, that there's sentiment in the north that Ishbosheth isn't the one. David's the one. Abner acknowledges that in verse 17, and he says, now do it, for the Lord promised David. Look at this. Again, there is widespread understanding that God has called David, anointed David, to be the king. Why haven't they done it? Well, Abner's now the catalyst that's going to see that it happens. By my servant David, I will rescue my people, Israel, from the hand of the Philistines and from the hand of all their enemies. So we know David is God's man. Abner also spoke to the Benjamites in person. Remember the Benjamites? That's the tribe Saul is from. They are the fierce warriors that really started the civil war in Israel. Okay. He's talking to those guys, and he says, then he went to Hebron to tell David everything that Israel and the whole house of Benjamin wanted to do. When Abner, who had 20 men with him, came to David at Hebron, David prepared a feast for him and his men. Okay, so there's some sort of political alliance being formed here. Then Abner said to David, let me go at once and assemble all Israel for my lord the king, so that they may make a compact with you, and that you may rule over all that your heart desires. That sounds pretty good. We're going to consolidate the power, and David's going to be the king. So David sent Abner away, and he went in peace. Here comes a complication. It seems like there's always a complication. Just then David's men and Joab, remember Joab? He is David's nephew, son of Zeruiah, if I remember right. Okay, he's a fierce guy too, fierce like Abner. Okay, David's men and Joab returned from a raid and brought with them a great deal of plunder. But Abner was no longer with David. Yeah, in Hebron, because David had sent him away. Notice how the text now twice in 2 verses tells us he had gone in peace. David had believed Abner's intentions were legitimate. It was going to work out great. Joab, not so much. When Joab and all the soldiers with him arrived, he was told that Abner, son of Ner, had come to the king, and that the king had sent him away, and that he had gone in peace. Oh, he went in peace now 3 times in 3 verses. So Joab went to the king and said, "What have you done?" Uh-oh. "Look, Abner came to you. Why did you let him go? Now he is gone." Joab doesn't like Abner. Why doesn't Joab like Abner? Because Abner killed his brother in chapter 2. If you recall, Ahasel? I can't say it correctly. I'm sorry. We'll get to it here in the text. So Joab has a vengeful attitude towards Abner. You know Abner, son of Ner, he came to deceive you. Wait a minute. So now Joab is going to throw a wrench into this peaceful exchange David has had with Abner to say, Abner's lying to you. He's lying to you. He came to observe your movements and find out everything you're doing. In other words, he was on a reconnaissance mission. He wasn't on a peace mission. Joab then left David and sent messengers after Abner, and they brought him back from the well of Sirah. But David did not know it. Notice 26. David is excluded from what's about to happen. Now when Abner returned to Hebron, Joab took him aside into the gateway, as though to speak with him privately, and there, to avenge the brother of the blood of his brother Asahel. There it is, Asahel, that's his name. Joab stabbed him in the stomach and he died. Wow. So without the king's permission or knowledge, Joab kills Abner. Again, political intrigue and revenge is happening in the king's court. Later, when David heard about this, he said, "I and my kingdom are forever innocent before the Lord concerning the blood of Abner, son of Ner." What's he saying? I have no accountability here. I did not order this. I did not want this. I did not do this. May his blood fall upon the head of Joab and upon all his father's house. May Joab's house never be without someone who has a running sore or leprosy, or who leans on a crutch, or who falls by the sword, or who lacks food. Wow, David's really upset. He's really upset. I mean, not only has Abner been murdered without his understanding or knowledge, and this has great political consequence potentially, because now perhaps the alliance that was about to be cemented with the north is going to fall apart. Well, Joab and his brother Abishai murdered Abner, so now his brother Abishai is also brought into the plot, because he had killed their brother Asahel in the battle at Gibeon. You remember Asahel wouldn't stop running after Abner. Abner said, "Please, stop this or I'm going to stop you." And Asahel wouldn't stop, so Abner killed him. That's in chapter 2. Then David said to Joab and all the people with him, "Tear your clothes and put on sackcloth and walk in mourning in front of Abner." King David himself walked behind the bier. So now Joab just killed this guy, but Joab is called by the king to mourn for Abner. They buried Abner in Hebron, and the king wept aloud at Abner's tomb, and all the people wept also. So they understand that this murder was without permission. I guess you might want to say it that way. The king sang this lament for Abner. Should Abner have died as the lawless die? Your hands were not bound, your feet were not fettered. You fell as one falls before wicked men. And all the people wept over him again. So there's great mourning for the loss of Abner. Then they all came and urged David to eat something while it was still day. But David took an oath, saying, "May God deal with me, be it ever so severely, if I taste bread or anything else before the sun sets." So David has a self-imposed fast going on for the rest of the day until sunset. And all the people took note. This is a key verse. And they were pleased indeed. Everything the king did pleased them. Notice that the stock of David's account is going up. People admire his leadership. They're going to respond to the response that David has at the death of Abner, and perhaps this is going to appease those in the north. So on that day, all the people and all Israel, those are the people in the north, they knew that the king had no part in the murder of Abner, son of Ner. Then the king said to his men, "Do you not realize that a prince and a great man has fallen in Israel this day? All right, and today, though I am anointed king, I am weak, and these sons of Zeruiah are too strong for me." Who's that? That's Joab and his brother. May the Lord repay the evildoer according to his evil deeds. So has David secured power in the north? You're going to have to come back. We'll get to that as it appears in Scripture, but I want you to just think about something. Think about the struggle David has been put through to fulfill the calling that God has on his life. Samuel came, anointed him king. He didn't just march him down to the throne and put him up there, put the crown on his head. No. David's been running for his life for years, and now his kingship, in terms of having the whole country under his control, is in jeopardy. We'll see how God works it out next time. God bless you, church. Serve him well today.
Who is it who for sinners shed his blood, and now for cleansing all can plunge beneath that flood? It's Jesus. But do you know who he is? He's the image of the invisible God, and he's the brightness of his glory, the first, the last, the future, the past. He is God.